Hello everyone, and welcome to this kind of initial review of the new Sandtrooper figure in the Black series released by Hasbro. The purpose of this video is just to kind of overlook the actual figure itself, look at what things that we can obviously fix up to create to make it look a bit more like an actual A New Hope Sandtrooper, sorry, beg pardon. Because unfortunately, as good as this figure is out of the box, which I do think is quite good, a lot of the detailing is to make it like a true representation of A New Hope Sandtrooper, sadly just not there. And this is even in some things as like the box art. You can see that the box art that's used here is the Rogue One Stormtrooper along with the Rogue One Stormtrooper ab detailing, which coincidentally enough, props to Hasbro, which is really cool. They actually got the correct ab detailing for the Sandtroopers here. So you've got the plate area, which is completely flat, unlike the Stormtroopers, and you've got the 3-button arrangement, which is seen on the Sandtroopers as well. There are more kind of unique things that have been done to make this look sort of like a new Hope Sandtrooper, but sadly we do have a mix of Rogue One aesthetics and A New Hope aesthetics. So as you can see here, we've got the Sandtrooper-esque kind of design reasonably represented okay. I'd say the weathering for the kind of, I think the dot matrix kind of painting is actually quite good compared to some of the other figures I've seen with the weathering. Obviously when we get around to customizing this, I'll add a lot more detail to make it look like it's actual sand on the actual armor itself. You've got the Rogue One flat Stormtrooper boots down here, which will need to be changed into the 1970s Chelsea boots, which were used by the Stormtroopers and Sandtroopers in the original trilogy. The original trilogy boots were black and painted white. We've got looks like new sculpted shins, which is quite nice. That they've got the sniper diamond knee plate here, and as well, looks like we've also got new sculpted thigh pieces as well, because we've got this much sharper seam where the two parts of the armor meet together behind what would be a very flat piece of plastic on the front and the back of the armor. In the original costumes, these are strips of plastic which are glued over the top so that you can hide the seams of the left and the right hand side of the actual armor pieces. So on the Rogue One armor, this bit here is very rounded, so it's good to try and see that the more angular seam joint of the A New Hope version of the armor that was created by Shepherd Design Studios represented in the sculpt. Similar for how the actual tops of the thighs work as well. So working our way up, we can see there's a bit of a mishap here. The Rogue One crotch plate here, which is just completely straight down. The straight cod piece here, which on the original A New Hope versions of the armor would have like a line going up here. So in order to make this a proper representation of the A New Hope armor, we're going to have to change this. The belt is a pretty decent representation of the A New Hope belts, which has got this kind of little glued on piece of plastic to hide one of the rivet seams, which keep the belt to what would be a piece of fabric which would run around here. So this would need to be fabric kind of color, which is a slightly different color to the armor itself. At the side, we've got the ammo pouches, which are really nicely sculpted, really gorgeous sculpt on these ammo pouches. And to be honest with you, they look like they're stuck on with what looks like a kind of peg system. So I think I don't want to not use those because I think they're quite nice. So we'll look to incorporate some way to include these in the reworks. Turning around, the butt armor looks to be kind of resemblance of the Rogue One butt plate, considering that this is probably just slightly retooled off the 2020 Stormtrooper. We might have to redesign part of this, considering that all this lower piece here, apart from these pouches, this bit, the crotch bit, you can see is just all one piece glued on as like a softer plastic. So we'll have to boil this off, peel it off and then put some new armor pieces on to make it more resembling of the A New Hope armor kind of contours of the crotch and the butt plate. On the back, it's not too different from the Rogue One armor, sadly. One thing that sadly does let it down here is this diagonal seam. The Rogue One armors have like a diagonal seam along the side, whereas on the original 1970s armor, it's like a straight line. So the amp section at the front is correct. This is not correct. It makes no difference with this being correct. That's incorrect. But there's no, without completely redesigning all this new section, that's not correct. So we're probably gonna have to paint that to try and hide that. Going further up, the Rogue One chest piece. So you've got the Rogue One back plate with the dimpled in top, extra detail here, the sharper details for what would be, I think they were called the O2 connectors. So you've got, this is sharper, this has got more defined details. The armor shape overall is more akin to the Rogue One Stormtrooper armor. You've got these side plates which are unpainted at the minute, and these are like usually black gloss as you connect a piece using a piece of plastic from the front and the back. So this whole armor section on the top will probably need to be completely redesigned so that it resembles more of the A New Hope armor shapes and whatnot, which shouldn't be too much of an issue. The shoulder bells, again, Rogue One armor detailing. Realistically, you've not got the back tick of where the actual armor goes straight down, and there's a slight tick at the back. Extremely minor detail with that one, which we can look to implement with some of the 3D parts that I've got, so I might very well do that. They're on like these nice O-ring systems, much like how the original 2020 Stormtroopers are as well. The forearms, again, there's nothing really much we can do about like correcting these things, because they've got, hopefully you can just about see it, they've got these kind of like ribbed undersuit sections here, which is also reflective on these bits around the knees as well. This is reflective of the Rogue One versions of the Stormtrooper costume, which is not present in the original 1970s costumes. So this, unfortunately, is probably going to have to be an inaccuracy we're going to have to live with, much like the side things, and we'll just have to work with it as best as we can. The biceps and forearms are not too noticeably Rogue One, so we can live with that. The hands, again, they're fine. They're not much of an issue. For the actual build, I might try and add the cheese grate hand plates to add some more hands to it, so it's a bit more emblematic of the MEPD Sandtroopers, the Mos Eisley to stop Luke, Obi-Wan and the droids. But going up, we've got the pauldron, really nicely sculpted in this sharp detail in here, and these creases. It's a one-to-one match, this pauldron, to one of the reference photographs from A New Hope in the Dune Sea scenes, where the Sandtroopers find evidence of the droids coming out of the escape pod. So that's really nice to see, and we will definitely be keeping this for the actual build. The helmet itself, it's going to have to go. The whole helmet is a Rogue One helmet, and you can tell by the indented, recessed areas for these tube stripes along the side. And the overall construction and design of it is very clearly a Rogue One helmet, kind of decoed up to look like a Sandtrooper one. You've got the plain grey detail in here and here, as well as the back, whereas the Stormtroopers have lines here and they have lines in the back here. But you can just about see it, I think, where the recessed areas are here, but it's just like a flat kind of grey. So we'll have to completely rechange this helmet to have one of our A New Hope sculpt helmets. So I'll put him there for now. The backpack itself is quite nice, the construction. I don't think I'll make anything different with this. It's quite a nice way. They've even gotten to the point where they've got the black tape. So the original costumes were secured together using gaffer tape. So they've actually put that in the sculpt, which is really, really nice to see. And that will be good to try and accentuate that with the actual painting later on. nicely molded bits of detail together, slots in together using this kind of peg system at the back. And you've got the ammo pouch that's on this actual strap as well. I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to go with this going forward, because there's no rhyme nor reason how the Sandtrooper pouches actually hang on the actual armor itself, but this one seems to hang a little bit high for my liking. So we might do some jiggery pokery with that once we get to it. Pouches wise, I said we'll keep one of these, but we may replace one of them, because some of the Sandtroopers inside Mos Eisley have slightly different pouches on the side. So if we go for one that actually uses the blaster that he comes with, which is the RTC-17, I believe. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong with this. It's based off the German MG-15 during World War II, with the drum mags, which were usually seen in aircraft like the light bombers that they used in the early parts of the war. It's a really nice figure, but we've got some details to fix. And if we look at my original custom that I did several years ago, even now, there are details on this that I'd want to improve upon, but you can see definitely from the left to the right that there is a distinct noticeable difference between how specifically the helmet looks very, Stormtroopers, Sandtroopers from the original trilogy, with the raised brow and kind of detailing of it all. I've captured the ab detail, and if you can just about see under his T21. But the major inaccuracy I have with this one is that he also has the flat shoes, so we'll look to correct this on this new one. But I did go to like extra details of even putting the gaffer tape, which is on the shoulder belts by the Move Along Trooper, which was played by Anthony Forrest in Star Wars 1977. So there we go. That's the current kind of comparison between my original custom, the actual figure itself, and hopefully with some work we can try and get this guy looking a bit more similar to this guy. Wonderful. Stay tuned, folks, for more updates. Thank you very much.